What's up, everybody? It is episode 5 already of In Full Stride. I know we've been doing episodes pretty sporadically, but it feels like time has just flown by since then. I'm Carson Gabbaro, happy to be joined today by Ava Weiss at our favorite track in the world, Hudson Valley Community College. Ava, you just had practice here today. How are you feeling right now?
I feel pretty good. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
I know. I mean, when is it not a good time at Hudson Valley, right?
It's always a good time.
And it's a full circle moment for us, right? Because this is where I did my first ever mile split interview with you nearly a full year ago.
Wow. I've kind of forgot about that. It feels so
Time
long
has
ago.
flown. What did I tell you guys?
Yeah.
Anyways, how was practice today?
It was good. I had a workout today, and it went really well, and I was excited to be here after, so it flew by.
Yeah. It's always good to have that excitement in practice, of course, because I remember when I was in high school, especially first starting, because we're in the indoor track season right now, a lot of it felt tedious, boring, almost like watching paint dry, just being cooped up, not really getting to be out in the wilderness, in the wild, like cross country or outdoors. You're also a cross country star, as we'll get into shortly. But one thing that you've always told me in the interviews that we've done together, the shorter interviews, is that you've just been lucky to be part of such a great team environment.
Yeah.
Just, would you want to open up a little bit about that to start us off?
Yeah, for sure. 7th grade, I started, my team was pretty small. I didn't know a lot of the girls because I was so young still. But over the years, my grade and the grade below me kind of took that over, and we had a lot of good leaders that have graduated, and they were just really good in making us feel included, and it kind of led us to also having to make girls feel that way as well, which I think really helped. And just the whole team in general, everyone is so nice to each other, and the distance girls are so close, and I love that about the team, especially cross country. We're so close together, and we go on these trips together, and it's really fun, and everyone's just so close, and I love that environment, because there's other sports where the teams aren't that close, and I'm just so glad that the whole team gets to be together, and all my best friends are on the team, and I love them all so much. They're the sweetest.
Yeah, I mean, we often discount track as a team sport because of just how much individuality there is,
right.
But especially again at the high school level, when you're just really competing with your friends, that's when you really get to see just how much of it really boils down to the team.
Yeah.
So yeah. One thing, too, that you mentioned is that really started for you at a young age, and that was before a lot of what I've had the privilege of seeing of your career. So would you want to give us a little synopsis of who you are as an athlete? Who is Ava? Give us your all about Ava.
So I started with dance at a really young age. I was a dancer for 11 years.
That.
I was a dancer for a really long time, and I started doing that. I think I was 5 when I started doing that, and I did that for a really long time. And then I started a club track team in 4th grade, I'm pretty sure, and I did a club team. It was the Eagles. And I hurdled, I did triathlon and pentathlon at 8 years old, and I just really got into it. My dad brought me to every practice. I had so much fun. The coach was so nice, and all the girls and the boys on the team were just really nice to me, and I just really liked it. So I kept doing that team, and that was my introduction into track, and I realized, wow, this is something I really like to do. So then I was doing dance and track at the same time, which was a little crazy, but it was really fun. And then in 7th grade, when I was able to do sports, I got an email from my coach, Coach Gansel, asking me to join cross country, and I didn't even know what that was. I was I don't know what cross country is, but I
didn't either as a 7th grader.
I was I guess I'm just going to do it because I like to run, because I have this background of running track, and it was something I really like to do. I hurdled, I did long jump, shot put, my coach made me do everything.
You did shot put?
I did do shot put. I did the pentathlon, and he had me do everything. I was doing shot put, high jump, 800s, all of it since I was in 4th grade. So I joined cross country, and the rest is history. I joined cross country, and then indoor and outdoor, and that season was a little weird because it was still COVID. So we didn't have any indoor meets. We had one with Guilderland, but it was outside in the cold.
That was 8th grade, right? Or
7th or 8th.
Still 7th.
I think that was still 7th grade, because 8th grade we were back normal. But so my 7th grade year was a little weird, but then 8th grade it was back to normal, and I started. That's when I did my first 400 hurdle race. Was 8th grade. I ran a 1:16 in 8th grade for 400 hurdles. And I went to state quals. I remember specifically running against Kate Scanlon and seeing her from Guilderland. Yep. And I saw her and I was like, wow, she's so amazing. I wanted to be her. She was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did, and then I just did every season since. I've just loved it ever since, the team, everyone about it.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Kate Scanlon, current Division I standout at Brown. Her father, Chris Scanlon, actually coaches Guilderland, and I saw in the earlier stages of the fall, while you were still amidst that cross-country season, that you got to go with the Guilderland Flight Camp to the Armory Trials, where you open your indoor season as U.S. #1 in the 400, 57.98. Amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a good time, especially considering that you're doing a whole lot of distance stuff. I mean, for those of you that saw my little teaser graphic, she's run a couple seconds faster than that before, but just what was the experience like? Because that was a chaotic race, too. A whole lot different than what you had been used to at that time of year.
So I started the day with the 55 hurdles, and that went really well. I PR'd by a bunch because I was at the flight camp, and he helped me so much with the hurdles. Like, I got so much better. And then I had the 400, and my start was not very good. I had a really slow start for me, like, personally. So then, like,
probably good for a cross-country runner.
Yeah, probably good for cross-country, but I knew it was going to be a little slow because it was coming off the cross-country season. So we come to the second lap, and, like, there's pushing. And I'm like, I don't want to get stuck in the back because, like...
Right, I think you were in third or something.
Yeah,
I
was in third around, like, the second... Right when we got to the second lap, I was in third.
It was a 4-girl race, too, so that was
people,
kind of when you had to hit that
I was
goal
like, oh, my God, I need to go. So I was like, all right, just, like, start to go. And then the last 100 meters, I really pushed. And I really wanted, like, to win because I was like, it's the first race of the season. Like, I want to make a good impression and, like, try to get, like, a decent time, like, for the start. So I was just like, I need to, like, run and, like, get around these girls. So I was basically running in lane 2 for the entire second lap, which was, like, kind of crazy because I was running, like, more than, like, I should have, but I still ended up running a 57, which I was honestly surprised of because I felt really slow. Like, after, I was like, that was terrible. Like, I felt like the lactic for the first time since, like, outdoor doing the 400 hurdles. I was like, wow, this feels completely different than cross country. So it was kind of chaotic, yeah.
Do you do any speed work like you would typically do during the track seasons during cross country? How do you keep that up?
Yeah, so I did the flight camp over the summer as well and the fall, so that helped with, like, keeping my speed endurance up and keeping that, like, in my body because, like, I don't want to lose all that for indoor. But for cross country, it's mostly, like, distance and endurance workouts. We do some speed work, but, like, the shortest we do is usually, like, 400s or, like, 600s, sometimes 300s. So it's not, like, super speedy, and it's usually on grass. So we're not really on the track, like, in my sprinting spike. So most of that speed, like, came from the flight camp and just keeping that up over the summer.
And also, I think it's interesting, too, because one event that we've talked about a little bit, but have yet to really contextualize in words, is the 400 hurdles, because you won your first ever New York State title in that event in outdoors. Yet here we are at a very awkward point in time indoors where you get to do literally every event but the event that you could consider your main event at this point. So do you do anything to kind of keep that step pattern in your muscle memory while you can't exactly race the event?
Yeah, so I mean, like, this year I really started, like, focusing on 55 hurdles because I wanted to keep my hurdling good for 400 because last year I feel like when I went to 400 hurdles, my hurdling wasn't as good, so my step pattern was all messed up. But I did some step pattern work over the summer at high intensity, so that really helps me a lot. So just during indoor, like during the 400s, the 600s, 300s, like basically everything, just to work on all the other components of my race so that when I go to outdoor and I step on the line for the 400 hurdles, I can just put it all together and run a really good race. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
I think that's an important point that you make, too, because, again, a lot of athletes, especially once they get into further stages of their career than their junior year in high school, may not be running as many events as you are now. But how important do you feel it is for you to have all these events in your arsenal to make you better at your best events?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and I think my coach also tells me it's important, and I think I know it's important because I've seen other athletes, like, for example, Kendall Barnhart, like, she did all
Another
like the events
as
she did all like the events as well, and, like, I think that made her, like, a standout athlete, like, because she was able to do all these things so well. And I think that's just really important for being able to do, like, my main event, the 400 hurdles, because you need, like, endurance, you need speed, you need to know how to hurdle. Like, there's a lot of different factors to it. So being able to, like, do all the different events, like, I think it really, like, helps me put it all together in the end.
Yeah. Is there a particular event that you would say you have a bit of debt of gratitude to, like, this event has been the most game-changing to my overall athletics career thus far?
I guess the 400, like, I mean, I would say, like, the 400 hurdles, but, like, I don't know, like, I feel like the 400, like, that's where, like, I saw like, okay, like I can like run this, and then like when I started doing the 400 hurdles, it like that time also dropped like at the same time. Like I feel like I kind of like did those two events together. Like I feel like as my 400 hurdle time dropped, my 400 time is also dropping, and like that distance is just something that I like, because I feel like my start is never that good, but I feel like sometimes with distance I get a little like wonky. I don't know how to run it, so like I feel like the 400 is just like the perfect distance for me, because whenever I run the 300, I'm like, oh, I wish I had that last 100 meters, but whenever I run the 600, I'm like, why do I have 200 more meters? So I feel like it's just like the perfect distance for me.
No, that's, as a 400 runner myself, that's like exactly how I've tried like maybe 1 or 2 600s in my life. The first one I tried, I ran like 400 meters and I was like, no. And I just like jogged the rest 200. That was just a failed time trial. And the second one was like in pitch dark. I mean, I went out in 63, and that's supposed to be easy for us 54, 55 runners, but apparently not.
It doesn't feel like easy, yeah.
But it's interesting that you bring that up too in that perspective, because I also feel like the 400, no matter whether you're a shorter sprinter or a longer mid-distance, it's a bridge event.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why we consider almost unanimously the 400 hurdles and the 800 to be the most difficult events in track. It's because they combine like all those different aspects of running. So how do you feel like it's been for you to challenge that difficulty and use it to make you better as well?
Yeah, I mean, I love a challenge. Like I love being able to run this event, and like I just think like it's like the people that run it in the section are also, they're so good at it, so it's great to have all that competition up here. But I just think it's like, it's fun. Like I don't know, like I feel like it's just really fun like to run it. Like
I used to think that way, except for only after the race.
Right.
So how do you keep it fun for yourself when there's so much pressure going into a race?
I think I just try to like focus on myself, and I'm like, at the end of the day, it's about your time. Like, yes, place matters, but at the end of the day, like the colleges are looking at your times, like people are looking at your times, they're not necessarily looking at your place. Like it's different for some meets, like states, like, you know, I wanted to win, like I wanted to be a state champion and run a good time. But you know, at some races you just kind of have to like focus on your time and focus on yourself. Like my coach always tells me to focus on myself when I'm worried about other people. I'm like, I'm worried about this person, I'm worried about this person, like I'm worried about this race in general. He's like, just focus on your time, like focus on yourself, because at the end of the day, like you're the only one that matters in the race. Like it's your race, because it's you against the clock.
I think you've given the colleges a lot to look at thus far with all the different times you set, because not only have you done so many different events, you've set school records in so many different events. So you definitely given them a lot to look at. But again, that state title in the 400 hurdles, I think that was kind of your big way of signifying that you were there in that event to stay. So let's go ahead and flash it back to outdoor season. If you have not already, I'm actually going to have a clip up on my YouTube channel of the full race. You can go ahead and watch that back for those of you that do not have Mile Split. It's the first Federation title. It was your 8th win out of 8 400 hurdles races at that point of the season, and it was just really your chance and opportunity to bring everything in full circle. But starting off that season, before you got down to that 60.63, you were at 63.20, which was already a good time, again, compared to that 76 the first time you had stepped on the track. So, you know, just take me back to what you were thinking going into that season and what you would hope to accomplish.
Yeah, so, I mean, the following year, or the previous year, I had placed at states. I got 3rd in the Division I, and then 4th in Federation. So I was already like at a good point. And I was only a freshman, and then it was like Harriet Healy and Gloria Gurrier and like 2 like people I really looked up to. So coming in and seeing the first race was against Harriet and Kendall, who I knew were both very good hurdlers. I was nervous because I was like, I'm like the underdog. I'm young. I'm a sophomore. Like
I think you might have been in between the both of them actually in terms of lanes.
Yeah. I think I was on the outside. I think I was on the outside of both of them.
Whatever it was, that's right, because I think Kendall had a higher seed.
She had a higher seed than me.
Because
I was
it was interesting.
3rd.
She didn't run the 400 hurdles last year, but she had run a time that was slightly lower than yours.
Yeah, it was slightly lower than mine.
But again, that kind of added to the drama, because coming in, you were the 3rd overall seed of those 3.
Yeah,
so
I was the lowest.
You were a little bit of an underdog.
Yeah, I definitely felt like an underdog in the first race. Like I remember being so nervous, and I was like, I didn't know what was going to happen, because I knew I had improved from indoor, but Harry and Kendall were still like beating me at the time, like in the 300 and stuff. So I still was definitely really nervous. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, like what's the outcome going to be. And it was really cold because it was a Godelin Frigid Cup. So it was freezing outside, and I was freaking out. And I remember being like halfway through the race and I saw Kendall like on the outside of me. I was like, oh my, like I need to pick it up, like I need to go, and I felt pretty good. And then I remember coming around like the second turn and not seeing her and realizing I was in first, and I was like, oh my God, I'm beating them. Like I was shocked. I literally shocked myself. I was like, there's no way. And then when I crossed the line in first and I heard the time, it was a 62:02.
All right. Before we go any further, I'm going to play a clip. I actually did a little POV of myself announcing that because even I couldn't believe the time, which is now considered a slow time for you. Let me just play that for y'all real quick.
Ava Weiss over the final barrier and powering through to the line. This is all Ava Weiss. Wow! 62 seconds. Are you kidding me? 62:02. Oh my! She is now the 6th fastest in Section 2 history. Give it up for Ava Weiss of Columbia.
Again, that was my reaction to a time that is now nearly a full second and a half off of your new personal best.
Yeah.
So you set the bar so high for yourself at the time.
Mm-hmm.
How did you keep improving off of that performance?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely set the bar pretty high for myself because I had PR'd by like over a second. So I was like, I want to keep PRing. I don't want to be stuck. My biggest worry for the season was being stuck at the same time. I told my coach that a million times. I was like, what if I don't PR? What if I don't PR? But we did a lot of training with the hurdles. He talked to like another coach, and we came up with some workouts and ways to like keep me improving, and I was improving every meet. So clearly something was working while we were doing it, but then also like mentally knowing that I can like do it and I know I can PR because I was racing the same people every single race. So just knowing that like I had the ability to beat them, I think was like a good like mentally for me, because I think like sometimes I'm like, oh well, they're so fast, like I'm not gonna be able to do it. But just knowing that I did do it, I think really helped me like be like, okay, like you can do this, like you're fast enough to do this.
And you can do it again.
Yeah,
and
right.
Again. And kind of once you got into that groove, you know, once you start picking up win after win, did you kind of feel yourself coming to a point where you weren't as nervous for races that ensued?
Yeah, definitely. Like when we got to like later in the season, like Eddie meet and stuff, around that time, I was definitely more confident. Like I definitely gained a lot of confidence from being able to win at all these big invitationals. So that definitely helped with my confidence. But I was still nervous every time because I knew that they were also PRing. So you know, anything can happen
They're
in
keeping
track.
you in their
yeah,
crosshairs.
Like anything can happen. Like anyone can win. Like you never know. Like it's not guaranteed. So, but I think I definitely did gain confidence, and I always had a good lane, like a good seed, and you know, some stuff happened. Like at the Eddie meet, I tripped, and like
second hurdle too.
Yeah,
so
second hurdle.
that kind of threw you off a little bit. But again, like you told me at state quals when we did a little mile split interview, then like just having the ability to hurdle off of both legs is definitely key because it's something that you can have a talented 400 runner and throw them in the 400 hurdles. They can do good, but there's usually going to be room for improvement with the step patterns. So especially with the 400 hurdles, because I mean, we talked about it earlier with the 55 hurdles, there's a lot less steps in between, but just having that ability to react quickly, you know. How do you feel that's helped you?
I think, like, especially at the Eddie meet, like, I tripped and I was like, I thought I was going to fall flat on my face. I'm going to be honest. Like, I started to fall and I was like, I'm going down. But then I didn't. So I was like, okay, you have to keep running. But, you know, Kendall was on the outside of me. I think Harriet was on the inside of me, so I was like, I need to keep going. And
and of course, was not to interrupt you, but again, the year before, that was when you and Harriet had that photo finish. Was that kind of replaying in your mind? Like, not
that
again?
was in the back of my mind. I was like, I don't want to mess up again. And like, they give you the big trophy, and I was like, that was my big goal, like for like that meet, was to go out and win, because the year before we had been so close, and I was so close to winning it, but I didn't. So like, I really just had to react like quickly off of the trip, and just that back stretch, I sprinted. I remember being like, I need to get to Kendall. I was like, I need to get up there. So then by the 200, I was pretty close to her, but I started to get tired, obviously, because, you know, I had sprinted that back stretch. And our finish was definitely like close. Like, I think we all finished pretty close. But I was able like to get back and pull out the win. But definitely in the back of my mind, the entire 300, like the second 300 of the race, I was like, you know what happened last year. I didn't want it to happen again.
Yeah, because again, you had been leading in that race last year. For those of you that are not familiar, the Eddie meet is the biggest little meet in upstate New York. And 2023 is the year, and that was when, again, you were still a freshman. Harriet Healy was a junior from Ballston Spa, another local school. And by the 10th hurdle, you guys were just neck and neck, and it was a 6,000th. I remember it vividly, 6,000th of a lean. So, again, just you definitely fueled up that disappointment. And, again, like you said, the times were fast because that's where I believe you tethered Kendall to her school record of 61:28. So, again, even though you might not have PR'd in that race, you helped bring the field further along leading into the state meet that year. So that was a huge race.
Yeah, it was a good race. It was definitely, I think it was definitely good for knowing that things can happen, but knowing that I can recover, because my coach was talking to me about it after. He was like, you've been through everything now. Like, you know you can get up and keep going even after you fall. And I think that helped me for the state meet, and knowing that I'll be okay if something happens. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, I'll be able to recover and, like, you know, maybe not get the win, but recover and still run the race well enough.
Right. And, of course, I mean, you probably had to carry that through to nationals, right? Because expectations usually change once you get to a larger setting. But still, even though you might not have had your best day, there were a lot of other girls that went there and did not have their best day either. And it kind of just goes to show you that the conditions are almost equal for everybody. I got to ask, too, on that note for nationals. I was going to pivot back to another point in a bit, but I want to ask you about this while I'm on nationals. For Franklin Field, how weird is the hurdle placements on that track?
I do not like running 400 hurdles there, I'm going to be honest. My freshman year, I was in lane 9 for freshman hurdles. I was running against the wall the entire time. The hurdles were in completely different spots. Like, my first hurdle was, like, on the straight because I was in lane 9. So I was so confused. Like, I was a little freshman coming into this, and I was like, I do not know, like, how to run this. My steps got all messed up. And then this past year, I was in a better lane. I think I was in lane 7. Or like lane 3. It was either an inside lane or an outside lane. I'm not quite sure. I think it was outside though. And it's just, the hurdles are in completely different spots, and you run the whole season, like the whole season, you're running with the hurdles in the exact same spots. And then you go to nationals, the last meet of the season where you want to try and do good, and all of a sudden the hurdles are in completely different spots. And I think it really messes with your head. Like, I do not like it at all.
Sounds like you've got a new beast to conquer this next outdoor season. But yeah, back to the point I said before though, one thing you told me about worried you throughout the season was, oh, what if I don't PR again? Right after that Eddie meet, your next race at sectionals, you dropped your 4th school record of the season. So you kind of were able to settle that doubt and bring it forth to your 5th school record at states. So any more thoughts on the outdoor season before we kind of flash it back to present day?
I mean, this past outdoor season, like, I think I really, like, realized my potential and, like, my ability, because I think before that I was, like, during indoor I ran, like, a 57 400, and I was like, wow, okay, I can actually run. It was at Yale, and I was like, okay, like, I can actually run the 400. And then running that 55 at state quals and outdoor, I was like, okay, like, I can run, like, this is real, like, I can, like, actually do this. And I think this past, like, the past indoor and outdoor season, like, my sophomore year, I think I, like, really, like, realized my ability and my potential, and, like, realized I could, like, do it and be, like, good at it and compete well, like, in the section.
Yeah, a section, again, that's full of such great talent that comes and goes, but again, you're kind of now one of the faces of the section. It's one of those things that, again, can kind of scare you once you
really
realize
scary.
it's like, I'm the last one to fall, but here you are.
I know, it's crazy. Like, I think, like, I'm a junior already, and I remember being a freshman and being like, oh, they're a junior, they're going to graduate soon. And now I'm the junior that's going to graduate soon. And I'm like, that's just crazy to think about that. Like, at one point I was the young kid. Like, I was the 8th grader, the 7th grader, the 9th grader. I was like, oh, like, I still have so much time left to go. And, like, time just runs out so quickly, and, like, now I'm the older kid. Like, now I'm, like, the one that's gonna go soon, the one that you're not gonna have to worry about in a few years. I'm like, it's just completely different perspective, and it changes so quick, because all of a sudden you're a freshman, and then you have sophomore year, and now you're a junior, and now, like, that's it.
Yeah, now you're the veteran captain giving coach the practice report and everything. That was nice. I saw you giving Coach Iannone that before we started this little episode here. So now, of course, we're coming off across country, not quite in the thick of indoors yet. We're about to get into the thick of indoors, but why do you do cross country? I got to ask you straight up.
So I've done it since 7th grade, and the team, obviously, as you mentioned before, it's one of my favorites. We go on trips together, we train together every day, we do spirit weeks, we do, like, Halloween stuff, we do breast cancer awareness in October. We just do all this fun stuff together, and I don't know what I would do with myself if I didn't do it during the fall. Like I wouldn't play another sport, and I just feel like having that endurance really helps me in the 400 hurdles. Like I think knowing that I can run 3 miles helps me when I run 400 hurdles. I'm like, okay, well, I've run 3 miles. I can run a 400. Like, I can do it. And I really the biggest part is the team. Like, it's the team. Like, I just love all of them so much. And we're such a close-knit group, and we're all, like, nice. We're all friends. Like, it's so fun. And, like, I just love all the girls that do it so much.
I remember you mentioned, too, your dad was one that really pushed you in the earlier stages of your career.
Yeah.
One thing we did not mention about him, he's actually a soccer coach at Albany High School. So was that ever a thought in your mind, like, oh, will I be upsetting Dad if I don't play soccer?
I did play soccer, actually.
Oh, you did?
I did 2 springs of soccer when I was in, like, 2nd and 3rd
Back when
grade.
cross country wasn't an alternative.
Yeah. Like, 2nd and 3rd grade, I did, like, East Greenbush club soccer, but then I quit for dance. But then I ended up quitting dance for track. So I kind of went through a lot of phases, but yeah, I don't think I don't think my dad was ever going to be upset, because I think, he was the one that, like, kind of, like, told me about the Eagles, because he knew I liked to run, because I would run at my elementary school, like, fun runs, and I would win them. And he saw this ad for a track team, and he was like, you should do this. Like, this looks like something that you could be good at, like, that you could do. And, like, that's how I got introduced into that. So I don't think he was ever against it. Like, he was never like, you need to play soccer, like, stuff like that. Like, he was always supportive.
That reminds me, because, again, like I mentioned in last episode, I'm a musician. I play the trumpet. But I remember when I was selecting my instrument. Have you played a musical instrument, by the way?
I did for, like, 2 years.
Which one?
Clarinet.
Okay. That was not going to be my other choice, just so you know. I think that was what my mother ended up playing in elementary school, but onward. I remember I was so tempted to choose the saxophone because all the cool kids were playing saxophone, and, like, this is not actually true, but the way I describe it to people is I could see the tears flowing down my dad's face. No, son, I'll be supportive of whatever decision you make. But I knew it was the right decision for me to just play the trumpet, just to cater to my natural abilities. But I think it kind of speaks there, too, that how he kind of saw your natural ability as a runner, as a youngster, and not just your ability, but your love for running. So what's one thing that you love about running as a sport?
I mean, I've mentioned the team. Like, I just think the Columbia girls, we all love it, and we're all, like, we warm up together every day, and we have jokes, and we do all this fun stuff together, volunteering, and, like, all the meets together. And then just, like, the freeing feel of, like, just running. Like, I have always ran all throughout elementary school. Like, we had, like, field days and pumpkin, like, fun runs and all this stuff, and I just loved getting on the line and just running in circles. Like, I don't know what it was about it. I just loved doing it. And I never felt that love for any other sport. Like, I did feel it for dance for a little bit, but when I started running, I realized I like this so much more. Like, this is, like, what I really want to do.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because as someone who did dance, you probably have a decent level of acrobatics. So, typically your dancers or gymnasts you'll find on the high jump or the pole vault mats, but it was that love and ability to run that kind of kept you where you belong. So now, indoors. Again, it's that interesting season where you don't get to do your main event, but you get to do so many other events. Like, I think you've already set 4 or technically 3 PRs, because there was the 50 and the 55 hurdles. But how many PRs have you set this season thus far?
I set a PR on the 600 and the 55 hurdles at the first meet, and then this past weekend at Union, the 50 hurdles, and then technically the 45, but, like, I've never ran that before, so
let's count it 4.
So I guess 4 technically,
That's a cool blend, though, right? You got to do some of the speed and the shorter hurdles, and also some of the mid distance with the 600. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay. Would you consider the 600 to be a dash or a run?
I guess a run.
Me too.
I mean, you're definitely sprinting for, like, the first lap and, like, a half, but then, like, I think after that it's a run, because, like, it's close to an 800, like, it's between the 4 and the 8, and I think both, like, I know, like, the 400 meter dash, but, like, it's the 800 meter run, so I think it's a run. I think it's a run.
I'll have to ask that question to somebody who runs maybe 2:13.99 or faster. She's a 2:14.800 runner, too, in case you didn't know. So what are some big goals that you have for the indoor season that, again, it's not like you would have in any other season.
Yeah. Well, I obviously want to go to states. I think this year, like the 300 and the 55 hurdles is like what I want to go for. I think after working with Scanlon at the flight camp, I think like the hurdles can be something I can actually think about, and I think just doing it more will only help me for the 400 hurdles. And then the 300, I started doing it last year, realized I was pretty good at it, and I could actually do it. Went to states for it last year, and that was fun. I was sick at states last year.
And you
so
still PR'd.
I still PR'd while being sick. That was bad, but
I don't know, 43.5 is not that bad.
yeah, but the sickness was not good when I was there. But I didn't want to not run because it's states only comes around once a year, so I think I definitely want to go to indoor states healthy. For sure, want to be healthy during indoor and hopefully PR in the 300 and the 55 hurdles while there, if I qualify, but I'm hoping I qualify.
It's different than outdoors, too. For those of you that don't know the way New York works, it's pretty wonky, and there's some mixed feelings about this, none of which I'm willing to delve into right now, because I'm not a pot stirrer, as again I indicated last episode. But for indoors, there is no such thing as a super standard. You have to place in the top 2 or 3 if you have a time standard to qualify as the third competitor in order to make it to the state championships if you're competing indoors in the state of New York. That's just the way it is. Outdoors, you can hit a time standard like a 62.02 season opener, and boom, you're on to states. So yeah, it's different. I remember last year at the 300, right here on this track, you were, I think, the 4th seed coming in, so you weren't even supposed to qualify for states. It was a prelim final format, and you managed to navigate it with, as many British announcers would say, great class. So, what was that experience, that breakthrough experience like for you, knowing that you could kind of, again, be that underdog?
Yeah, that was like, I was against Gabby, Kendall, and Harriet, and I was the 4th seed going in. Like, I hadn't run as fast as any of them. Kendall was at like a 39. I wanted to be there so bad that season.
I think she was 40.11 at the time, but again, you had just barely dipped below 41.
I was barely below 41.
And before we go on, I remember, I didn't bring this up last year, but there was a little bit of a twitch off the line, right, when you broke that 40.9?
Yeah, there was. My back foot came up. It was really weird. I didn't run. It's just my back foot came up.
It counted, though, so it was a then PR, and it's been broken since, so, no love lost bringing it up. But go on.
So coming into that race, I was like, okay, I'm the underdog, but I really wanted to go to states because we had went the year before for the 4x4, and our 4x4 didn't have a great chance of qualifying that year. So I was like, I really want to still be able to go. And I knew that if you got 4th place in the 300, you could go for the intersectional relay. So I was like, okay, so if I place in the top 4, and I had the 3rd place time, so I was like, okay, if I place in the top 4, I should be able to go. But it was placing in the top 4 that it was hard because there was like 6 of us that were all like pretty good. Yeah. But going into I think I was seated 1st going into the final.
Because you ran the fastest prelim time.
Yeah, I had the fastest prelim time, which shocked me. I was like, I didn't even know how I did that. I feel like it's because we practice here so much. Like, I have a lot of experience running on this track, so I think that definitely helped. But going into it with Harriet and Gabby in the final, like the second final, I was so nervous. I was like, I want to go to this so bad. Like, I really just wanted to go to states for 300 because I just it was a good event, and it was like the only thing I really had like going for me for states. So I was like, I just need to run. And then crossing the line first, I was like, I'm going to states. I was like, oh my God, I actually did it. I shocked myself again. I was like, okay, I'm actually going to states. I was surprised I beat Harriet, Kendall, and Gabby. I was like, because I had never really beaten any of them really a lot before, so I was like, wow, I can actually do this. So yeah.
Again, Gabby, one of the girls you mentioned, who actually recently made her college commitment to Marist. Congratulations, Gabby Bozet from Boston Spa, Harriet Healy's former teammate. She ended up winning states outdoors in the 200. So that's just the amount of competition that you've been up against. A former hurdle state champ, a relay state champ, Kendall Barnhart. She got that state title that she'd been awaiting for so long. So again, these are just great athletes that not only, like you said, you've had the opportunity to race again and again, but over time really just keep yourself atop that conversation with. Yeah. And I think that's one big thing that I took away from your journey with the 300 last year. And not just that, but again, going to states, you not only PR, but that was in the finals. Again, after the prelims, which you were also sick in, right? You didn't just become sick in between.
Yeah, I was sick the whole time. It was hard, going down there, but I really wanted to do well, and I think that's what pushed me to PR. And the competition was so great, obviously, because it's states. So down there, I was just I really want to do well, and I had the opportunity to do well because I was with all that great competition. And even here, I feel like we always have the opportunity to do well in Section 2 because of all the great competition. And competing against the girls like every time that were so good, like I feel like that just challenged me even more and pushed me to want to be even better, because like just competing against them, knowing they're so good and so fast, I think I was just like, I want to be just like them. Like I want to be just as fast as them, and that really pushed me to be better.
One other event you mentioned as kind of a bittersweet last year, not getting to go for the 4x4.
Yeah.
Your 4x4 has made a lot of improvements since then.
Yeah.
First things first, you guys managed to qualify for outdoors. I mean, you shouldered a lot of that load with that 5402 FAT split.
Yeah.
Take us back to that moment. That was surreal. I remember watching.
That was so fun. So I had the 400 hurdles earlier that day, and I had PR'd, so I'd already felt really good that day. And then we had the 4x4, and we really wanted to qualify for states because Shay Fajan, it was her finals. It was her senior
the
year
distance
final
captain.
outdoor season, and we really wanted her to go. And then we had a freshman and then another girl in my grade. And we really wanted to try and qualify, and we just put it all together that whole race. I remember getting the baton in fifth.
Yeah.
I think it was fifth. And one thing that went through my mind, which is kind of silly, but I was like, oh, well, if we get second or like third, we get a sectionals patch. So I was like, I kind of want another one of those. So I was like, okay, like run really fast. And like they weren't right like ahead of me. And I was also like, I don't think he told us what the time was before we went. That was 4 states. But I knew like from what they had ran before that we had the opportunity to get it. And we were with amazing teams, Guilderland, Burnt Hill, Saratoga, like all these amazing 4x4 teams that I think had already qualified for states, but were running at sectional. So I was like,
again,
okay.
Burnt Hills, they had won it the year prior and this latest year. So again, Section 2, we got it all here up in the upstate region.
So like I was like, okay, well these girls like, this is like who I'm going to be running against, and I'm like, if they can do it, like so can I. So I got it in fifth, and I was just like, you need to run. I was like, you need to go. And I just felt so good that night. I don't know what I did, but I just felt amazing. And I remember just catching girl after girl and being like, wow, like I can like, we might actually like do this. And I remember getting to the 100, and I saw like Kendall like ahead of me because she was about to finish, and I was like, okay, I think I closed the gap, and I crossed the finish line, and he's like 3:58, we got it, we're in. And like we all like started like jumping up and down, and then I remember you being you ran like a 53 or like 9 or whatever.
It was
like hand
53.9,
timed,
then FAT, they got it
and
corrected
I was like, oh my god. And then like everyone was like shocked, and I was shocked. It was crazy.
I will never forget the reaction of the boys team. I mean, they were about to race their 4x4. That was just such a surreal atmosphere. Again, this is the sectionals race, which was right after the Eddie meet, which Ava almost fell at, but still ended up winning. Sectionals, she set her 4th school record and then came back to do that crazy thing in the 4x4. I remember when you crossed the line, I was obviously focused on Kendall because, you got to give love to the winners, Guilderland, getting their thing done. But then I was like, oh my goodness, Ava Weiss. And that was initially out of reaction to you making up 3 spots in the final leg, because no matter who you are and who you're up against, that's impressive.
Right.
And then the time happened, it was just like my jaw dropped further somehow. It was just such an exciting memory.
The whole team was so shocked. Like we finished, and the coaches were shocked. We were all shocked. We were all so surprised that we even ran that. And then like the boys, they were like, can you be on our 4x4? It was really funny, but it was such a fun night. And like I just remember being so happy after that, and just like, and then like again realizing my potential. Like I just ran like this in a 4x4, like that gave me like hope, like, oh, I can run something hopefully close to this at some point in the 400.
Let me ask you another question that kind of reminds me of the mixed relay, one of the forgotten events of the new age of track and field. Which format do you prefer? Do you prefer it to be like whichever order teams choose, or would you prefer there to be like a set order of male, female, female, male, or whatever?
I think it should like be like every team runs like the same like gender at the same time. So I think like
how it's been mandated.
I think how it, I feel like you shouldn't like pick it for yourself, because I feel like that makes it like unfair. I mean, I guess like I don't know. I think it should be like male, female, like something like that.
Okay, so you're in agreement with the current way it is.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can totally see where you're coming from there, because I mean, there's that viral video where there's the Polish runner.
I've seen that all the time.
You're thinking of this like I don't want that to be me.
Yeah, no, I would never want that to be me because
No.
I've seen that video plenty of times and I feel so bad for the poor girl because there's nothing she can do because biologically there's nothing she can do about it. Like she just has to run as fast as she can and she just can't. So I think like it makes it fair for like all the teams if you're running the same gender at the same time.
Now let's suppose if you were part of a 3-boy, 1-girl relay. Which leg would you be most comfortable with?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think first, honestly, because I feel like if I did bad, they would be able to like make it up for me. So I feel that would like take a lot of pressure like off of my shoulders, you know?
I totally agree there. I mean, I remember when I first started running freshman year when I was like not that good at the 400, I'd always like leave that trust in my teammates, or even in the DMR, like just as long as I did my job in the 400, I would make sure that my distance guys had enough gap to shoulder the bigger load. But you know, the 400's always an underrated leg in the DMR for sure.
Yeah, that's what I usually run in the DMR.
Yeah, I mean, you never know if you're needed for the 800, that gap is there too.
Yeah, true.
Do you have any big goals for your 4x4 though, as we pivot back to that for the indoor season?
Yeah. So I mean, Shay Fajan obviously graduated, but we have some other girls that I think can definitely fill in her spot. And I think just if everyone keeps improving like they are, I think we can definitely get close again to that 3:58 that we ran during outdoor. I think it's definitely something that we can do. I mean, obviously it's indoor, so the time won't be as fast as outdoor, but I think if we all keep improving, like I think we can definitely get there again. I have full belief that the girls can do it 100%.
Are you guys going to shoot for states or potentially nationals?
I think states over nationals. We are running a 4x4 at Bishop Laughlin. I don't think I'm in it because I have the 300 and the 55 hurdles, but
yeah, I was checking the meet information there because again, that's going to be my first Mile Split broadcast coming up. Again, this podcast is not affiliated with Mile Split, but just gotta give a little shameless plug there. Tune in Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, I remember I was looking. Nope, Ava's not on the 4x4. Oh well, we got the 55 hurdles and 300 double to get you ready for that state meet.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do it at another meet for sure. I think, you know, ever since freshman year, like we've seen like the potential that we didn't, like we had that during freshman year. So like we've always had the potential to do it. I just think, you know, all of us do different events. So it's hard to like get all of us together and like run a solid 4x4. And I think that's what happened so well at sectionals because we all only ran run race before. So I think like only doing that like gave us the potential to do that. But I think we still can do it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you've got such a great team environment.
Yeah.
You've got almost every which direction that you could possibly turn in such an adventurous season like indoor. I like that we're putting this positive spin on indoor because it really gets overlooked by a lot of people. Like I said off the top, you know, you're practicing inside. It's cold, especially if you're upstate. I mean, some states don't even have an indoor season. But
That's
what do you
crazy.
appreciate most about winter track and what it does for you?
I think it just gives me the opportunity to do other events, which I like because, you know, during outdoor, like I'm very focused on the 400 and 400 hurdles and focusing on that. So I think during indoor, when I get to run, you know, the 45 like for fun or like the 4x8 or like just stuff like that, like it gives me the opportunity to run other things and improve my times and other things. And I just think that ultimately helps me for the 400 hurdles. So I like running the other events. They're fun. Like running the 45 was fun. Like, you know, like it's something different. And then like the 600, that was something different. I don't normally run that often. So just being able to like expand like what I do. I really like doing that.
Need I mention that this track and the other track that local dual meets are held at Union College, you cannot wear spikes on. So again, it kind of takes a little bit of that pressure off too, knowing that, okay, it's not necessarily a all-out PR effort. Just do the best you can.
Yeah, definitely.
I had my first indoor race here. It was a 300. My time was like so bad. I went out so slow because that's how I used to run all my races, including 400s, but I still won and I felt so good about it. My coach was like, we got to work on your form, but nice win. Today is also the day that we're recording this, December 17th. I'm remembering it right now. We talked about the Bishop Laughlin games at Ocean Breeze in Staten Island. I remember I went there as a senior in 2017. That's 7 years ago, my God. But that was not my first. It was my second. My first school record was in the DMR outdoors the previous season, but this was the first school record that I knew that my name would be getting displayed up on my school's board for. And why I was so happy about that, my time was not good at all. Because again, I went out way too slow. It was my first 400 of the season. It was like a, I don't know, 57, 58 or something, mid like that. But it just felt so fulfilling that I could have like gotten myself to that point from someone who just like kind of went and showed up to practice, went through the motions. And that's, again, one thing that I'm really grateful for, to have been able to work on the high school scene, is just to see the meaning of school records again.
Yeah.
So even for someone like you that has so many school records to her name, how do you keep that meaning important for you?
I mean, I think of all the people that came before. Like, I see these records are from like 1982. I'm like, that's like a long time ago. Like this person, like the 55 hurdle record that I just broke, it was actually like one of my teachers right now's sister that had that record. And I just think about that, like that was my teacher's sister, and like that's my teacher right now. Like it's just thinking like that record lasted for so long, and I was the one to break it out of all the people that have came through. It just, it makes you think about like everyone that has competed for Columbia, and like how many people have gone through, and like that you were able to like train and do well enough to break that record that was previously set. It's just, it's crazy to think about like how long ago like some of these records were set and how long they've lasted, because like some of them are still like from like the 1980s that we have still. So
So, again, the 400 hurdle is one of those events that, again, you set so many school records, multiple per season. I counted 5. That was the final tally for 2024. You've still got 2 outdoor seasons left with that event, and you've got less than a second to close on the Section 2 record held by another local legend, Kyle Plant. I'm sure that's a name that you've heard all over the place and seen. I remember that's one that I was looking at when I was younger, too. Like, I was running in the lower 40s, and I'm like, 38 for 300? What?
Yeah, it's
I should
crazy.
just hang it up by now. But, just knowing that you can, again, place yourself in that conversation. Just how do you feel about where you are right now?
I feel really good. Like last year being a sophomore and being able like to run those times, and like you'd always tell me like where I was at like in the section and being like,
You're
wow,
welcome.
thank you. But I was always like, wow, like I'm like close to like what these people are running, and then like I see when they ran it, I'm like, okay, like I have time to do this. So I think like knowing that I still have 2 seasons left, and like the Section 2 record is definitely something that was on my mind last year, and definitely something that's on my mind this year, because I definitely think I can do it. So just knowing that I have the time to get there. I mean, obviously it's only 2 seasons, but that's still quite a bit of time, like to be able to get there. So, yeah.
She set a 59.76 back in the earlier 2010s, and she's the only one in our sectional history to have gone sub 60. I know that's another barrier. Like, let's say even if you don't get the sectional record, to go sub 60 as a high schooler is something special. I mean, even I remember my first sub 60 400. It's just such a special feeling. Do you remember yours?
It was last indoor.
24, yeah.
Yeah, last indoor. So like not this one, but the one before.
I
think
that wasn't the 57, was it?
I think it. No, okay. So I ran a 58 split in like my first time like going under flat was at Ocean Breeze last year. That was my first time ever going under 60 like in an open. But I ran a 58 split in the 4x4 at Yale, and then I ran a 57 split like later that night in the DMR for my 400 split, and that was like the first time going under 60 for me, because I'd went like 60 at Ithaca the meet before, and like that was like the first time, and I was like, that it was cool. Like I was like, wow, I can like actually like go under 60.
Yeah, a basketball literally just hit the back of Ava's chair right now. We're good though. All of our equipment is still intact. I think that's a good place to kind of wrap everything up. Where we stand right now, you're number 4 on both the 400 and the 400 hurdles leaderboard, so a lot to be excited about. Of course, this indoor season, but let's not forget, we've got Christmas coming up in 8 days from today and 6 days from the release date of this episode. So what is your favorite Christmas song?
I think Last Christmas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I like that one. It's nice. I like it. Yeah.
Christmas movie.
Christmas movie? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for reminding me, because I'm literally headed to a trivia night that is literally centered around that movie after this.
I love that movie. It's really funny.
I haven't watched it in a little bit too long, but I'm just like trying to keep it fresh in my mind. Like I'm repeating the words, the Griswold family Christmas tree, over and over again. Wish me luck. I wish you the best of luck this indoor season.
Thank
Any more thoughts that you want to close with, Ava?
I don't think so. I'm just really excited for the rest of the season, going to Ocean Breeze, and then outdoor I'm definitely excited for. I really want to, hopefully do better than last year and just keep improving and, all that. Yeah.
Just keep having fun. That's the bottom line.
It's always been fun, and I love it. It's so fun.
Why let it stop now?
Yeah.
Ava Weiss, thank you so much for joining me on In Full Stride. Episode 5 is in the books. I'm not exactly sure who I'm going to select for episode 6. Which leaves me with one more question. If you could have your own podcast and you could have any guest in the world, who would you pick? It doesn't even have to be a track person. Like, if you could pick one person.
I think it would be like Cindy McLaughlin or like someone on like the USA track team. Cindy McLaughlin, I would love to meet her.
Yeah.
She seems so cool.
Now the challenge is to ask that to a non-track person and get the same answer, right?
Yeah.
Gotta grow the sport.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Follow In Full Stride on Instagram. Follow Ava's track account as well, ava.weiss.track, and subscribe for more. Leave a like if you enjoyed and stay tuned for future episodes. See you guys. Happy holidays. Have a good one.